the biggest buildings in New York were the dullest.
It's hard to be down when you're up on top of the world. So come on up, take a good look round, have some fun at the top of the world.
The observation deck at the top of the World Trade Center. If you think the view from inside is spectacular, wait till you get outside to the roof. It's breathtaking.
Have some fun at the top of the world.
Architects may not have liked them, but they were a hit with the public. And one incident in particular helped to break the ice between the severe minimalist structures and the notoriously emotional and fiery population.
I had a direct connection to the police desk, and the light went on as I'm driving to work in the morning, and the sergeant on duty says, Mr. T, we have a problem at the World Trade Center. I said, what is it? He said, there's a guy walking on a tightrope between the two buildings. What should we do? And I couldn't think of it. I said, tell him not to fall off.
The daredevil was a Frenchman named Philippe Petit.
Then I called back about 15 minutes later, and I said, I've been thinking about it. I could use the publicity, so don't arrest him. But the city of New York police said he must be arrested. The judge called me after he had him in court, and he said, he's such a nice young man. What should he do? I said, just don't hurt him. So Philippe Petit was given a sentence. He did a free show for children, crippled children, in Central Park. We crossed the pond, if you would. And Philippe and I became very good friends.
The World Trade Center stood for 23 years without serious incident. Apart from a few small office fires and the odd jammed elevator, the buildings led an uneventful existence. Gradually, the floors began to fill up. And although it was never the most prestigious of addresses, numbers 1 and 2 World Trade Center, as the towers were officially called, began to worm their way into the hearts of New Yorkers.
By the time the terrible events of September 11th happened, I think most people had actually made a peace with the Trade Center as a piece of architecture. They may not have loved it, but they liked it. They saw it as a benign presence, as part of the landscape of New York, and expected and counted on seeing it forever.
The first terrorist attack on the towers took place on February the 26th, 1993. A hired van packed with hydrogen canisters and the equivalent of half a ton of TNT was driven into the underground car park beneath the complex. Although there was no vehicle access actually inside the towers themselves, the terrorists got as close as they could, parking the van 2 floors down, 6 feet from one of the subterranean walls of the North Tower. At 18 minutes past 12, the bomb exploded. Six people were killed and 1,042 injured in what was, at that time, the biggest terrorist attack ever carried out on American soil. The towers acted like giant chimneys, sucking smoke from the blast upwards through the stairwells and elevator shafts, which were full of people trying to get out. The intention had been to demolish the base of the North Tower and cause it to fall into the south. But the terrorists had not reckoned with the extraordinary strength of this tube of steel.
The bomb was a serious bomb, but in terms of a building of the scale of the World Trade Center, it was not a significant event in terms of the tower. Now, outside of the tower, it was another matter completely.
The bomb failed to demolish the towers because it exploded outside the perimeter wall. The blast merely bounced off and shattered several floors of the car park and a machinery space below. The next time the terrorists attacked, the outcome would be different, because 8 years later, they finally managed to penetrate the tower's defenses. From this point on, the building's design meant that the collapse was inevitable. When the first 200-ton airliner smashed into the World Trade Center, traveling at over 400 miles an hour, it seemed that the building had survived the attack. In fact, appalling damage had occurred inside, cutting off vital escape routes and starting the process by which the towers fell. British-born naval architect George Slay was on the 91st floor of the North Tower at 8:46 a.m.
I was on the phone, I heard a roar, looked out the window and saw this passenger jet coming towards the building. It was only about 2 or 3 plane lengths away from me at that point, and I didn't really have time to react. It was just, I saw it and then it was into the building.
George's office was just below the point at which nearly 200 tons of Boeing 767 had struck the tower.
Our offices are between the 2 arrowheads, and my office was particularly to the first 3 windows to the right of this arrowhead, in this area here. It doesn't get much closer than that. My office kind of collapsed around me. One of my colleagues came rushing along to see if I was okay and offered to drag me out. I politely refused. I said I was okay and crawled out myself.
At 6 minutes past 9, as onlookers watched in horror, the second plane hit. Watching from the window overlooking the complex was the engineer Leslie Robertson's wife, Saltine C., who is also a structural engineer with the firm.
Well, after the first tower was hit, all of us were gathered around the windows on the north side looking towards the North Tower, which was burning, and I was standing by this window with lots of other people from the office when we saw this blue and red plane coming by and smash into the South Tower. And people thought it was a movie. You know, it was unreal. We were so stunned. Nobody believed that this was for real.
In the weeks and months that have passed since that appalling day, the complete set of plans and drawings that are kept in this office has been under intense scrutiny. These plans graphically illustrate why many in the building would not escape.
These are the architectural drawings of the World Trade Center North Tower, Tower A. And this is the 94th floor, which is very close to the floors of impact on the North Tower. And the plane came in from the north side, so broadside onto the core. The core is from here to here, and from there to there.
If an outline of the aircraft is superimposed on the plans, the true scale of the impact becomes clear. With a wingspan and length of 157 feet, the Boeing 767 must have devastated the central core. All means of escape were now blocked for those above the impact.
With the layout of the stairs, which are here and here, don't think that anybody above these